This is Dave, and I'm here with Ethan, and together we are Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, episode 192-inch.
On this episode, we present the 6th chapter of our Weird the Al Yankovic Story series. This chapter concludes the chronicle of our time on the set of Weird the Al Yankovic Story in February 2022.
It's Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
It's a podcast about Weird Al.
It's Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
Seriously, the whole podcast is about Weird
It's
Al.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
You don't have to listen, but we're glad you are.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
Well, Ethan, we did it. You know, and there are more than one huge milestones that we need to celebrate this episode.
Yes, this episode marks our final chapter in our Weird the Al Yankovic stories.
And that's right, we said our time because this episode will take you through the last moments of our time on the set of Weird the Al Yankovic Story. But do not worry, that's not the end of the series.
We'll be back with future chapters featuring a special guest who has multiple cameos in the film.
And you know what else, Ethan? This episode marks our 16-foot episode.
Ever since we launched Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, our goal has always been to reach exactly 166 feet 8 inches worth of episodes.
In fact, that's why we chose to include 2000-inch so prominently in our podcast title, as it's just a little bit more concise.
Wind up your podcasts! Only 150 feet 8 inches to go!
You know, it seems so attainable when you put it that way. All right, Ethan, you just got back from a fun-filled, packed, Weird Al-related weekend in Los Angeles. I cannot wait to hear all about it.
Oh, Dave, I cannot wait to tell you all about it on a future episode.
No! You know I can't wait that long. And future episode, what does that mean? That could be any time from next Wednesday through August 29th, 2057. Can I at least have a preview?
Well, I'll just say I visited Linwood, I went to the Hollywood Star, and I got to see Weird Al himself at a fantastic charity event that featured a screening of Weird the Al Yankovic Story, as well as a Q&A with Weird Al and another star from the film.
All right, that'll hold me over until at least August 29th, 2057. I cannot wait to hear more on another episode, but we've got a new chapter to premiere, and, well, we've got a few exciting things to cover in What's Happening in Weird Al-related news. All right, Ethan, I think you should have stayed in California just a little bit longer, because in just 3 short days, on Saturday, April 29th, Weird Al will be the special guest at Orange Film Fest 2023.
What? Oh, I'm so bummed to be missing it! It's going to be pretty sinking majestic, I have to assume, because Al will be in attendance for a Q&A session, but no word on if they're actually showing Weird the Al Yankovic Story.
Well, Orange Film Fest 2023 will be held at the Frida Cinema in Santa Ana, California, and tickets are on sale right now over at orangefilmfest.com.
Rumor has it Weird Al will be appearing at the Roku New Front 2023 presentation in person on May 2nd in New York City.
Now, could Weird Al be further promoting Weird the Al Yankovic Story ahead of Emmy season? Or perhaps is there a new project he's going to announce? Or will we finally see the Yankovic cut? Well, hopefully we will know soon.
Now, Weird Al makes a brief cameo in the brand new trailer for the Muppets Mayhem TV show. Hey, Dave, wasn't this one of the panels you attended last year at New York Comic Con?
Yes, it was. Now, there was no mention of Al or any other potential cameos at the panel, but I stand by what I said at the time. The show looks awesome. And I said that even before I knew Weird Al was involved. I pretty much love everything the Muppets do, so I'm even more excited now to check this out.
The first episode of the Muppets Mayhem is scheduled to drop on May 10th on Disney+. I cannot wait to check it out.
Comedy Bang Bang, the podcast, the book, is available now at cbbworld.com, Amazon, and anywhere else books are sold.
And not only did Weird Al post a photo of himself with his early copy of the book, he is one of the many stars who contributed to the book's many forewords.
Oh, and hey, did you hear? Weird Al recently appeared on an NPR podcast, and I bet you cannot guess which one.
Wait, don't tell me.
I'll give you a hint. It's their weekly news radio panel show.
Wait, don't tell me.
Al appears during the Not My Job segment and talks about accordions, bathrooms, and getting turned down by Prince.
Wait, don't tell me.
If you want to check it out, The episode aired on April 22nd and is available anywhere you get your Wait, Don't Tell Me episodes.
Oh, Dave, I told you not to tell me. I wanted to guess.
Well, the long-awaited second album by Napoleon XIV is finally available for pre-order.
As mentioned in our interview with the late Jerry Samuels, aka Napoleon XIV, which aired on episode 173-inch of Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, his unreleased second album, For God's Sake Stop the Feces, was recorded throughout the late 1960s and remained as lost media until now.
Available for the first time ever on Needle Juice Records, the album will be released on CD, cassette, and 2 different colored vinyl variations, and is available to listen to right now on their YouTube page.
This new album also contains liner notes written by Dr. Demento and Weird Al Yankovic, as well as song commentary notes written by Jerry Samuels.
Now, in addition to this new album, Needle Juice Records is also releasing a reissue of Napoleon XIV's first album, They're Coming to Take Me Away, haha, as well as reissues of collections of music by Tom Lehrer.
So Demented Music and Weird Al collectors, you better place your pre-orders now. Head over to needlejuicerecords.com. The albums are expected to ship in July of 2023.
And it looks like the paparazzi have been working overtime.
Oh yes, Daniel Radcliffe was recently spotted walking on the streets of New York City with his long-term partner and their brand new baby!
Daniel is, of course, best known for his BAFTA award-winning portrayal of Weird Al Yankovic in the 2022 biopic Weird the Al Yankovic Story, as well as portraying the title character Harry Potter in some other little-known film franchise.
Daniel's publicist confirmed the news, but for those who are curious, the couple has not announced the sex, name, or date of birth of the baby as of yet.
From all of us here at Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, huge congratulations to Daniel Radcliffe, Aaron Dark, and their family.
And for what it's worth, we think Alfred David Ethan Frank Superfly Radcliffe is a lovely baby name. Wink, wink.
This episode is brought to you in part by the vegan burrito restaurant Burrito Burrito in Troy, New York, home of the 2-pound double wrapped in a quesadilla Burrito Burrito and Wizard Burger in Albany, New York. Come on down to Burrito Burrito and Burrito Burrito your Burrito Burrito, or hop on over to Wizard Burger for mouth-watering, loaded, dare I say beefy, vegan burgers. From Troy to Albany to Uranus, Burrito Burrito and Wizard Burger feed the hungry with out-of-this-world, plant-based, real food, always vegan style. Visit burritosquared.com and wizardburger.com to order ahead.
Well, Dave, here we go. It's time for the final Dave and Ethan chapter in our Weird the Al Yankovic Story series as we conclude our day on set of Weird the Al Yankovic Story. So after this scene, we go back out to our holding area, and while we're gone, they bring a couple people in, and not everyone. It's more the people in the back of the bar.
Yeah, they came out and they basically said, all right, everyone who was at the back of the bar, why don't you come in? We have to shoot a little scene. And at that point, I saw them kind of, I think I maybe went to get a bathroom break, or I went to Crafty to get something, and I saw them, unloading ice cream, carts, like little ice cream push carts. I'm like, ooh, I wonder if we're actually going to really get ice cream.
Or mashed potatoes.
Or mashed potatoes, right? We know they use mashed potatoes as stage ice cream.
And so while we were out here waiting, so she brought those people in, but then she also came to us and a couple other people by name, like Dave Rossi, Ethan Allman. You guys are now Group C, and
right.
After we're done filming the rest with the band, there's going to be a separate scene that you guys are going to be in. We're like, awesome.
I know, that's great. Yeah,
we'll do everything we can. So, while this is all happening, eventually those people who were called in came back, and it seemed like it kind of took a long time for what we thought was going to be kind of a short scene of them shooting, like, talking at the bar and screaming it's ice cream time and that kind of stuff. So we're surprised when it took as long as it did. And one of the guys we had actually mentioned earlier, like he looked like the bikerliest biker.
Oh, yeah.
Like this guy was like hardcore, perfect biker. He came over and we just kind of struck up a conversation. We're asking him what was going on in there, what was taking so long.
Yeah, and he's like, well, they were shooting a scene where the woman runs in and she says, "Hey, there's ice cream outside," and they just needed a couple, the extras that were in the back to kind of be there, sitting at the bar and just kind of be,
surrounding her,
surrounding her while they do this. And she says, we're kind of sitting at the edge of the bar, and something happened, hit one of the kegs behind the bar, and it's just shot beer all over everything, including the camera back there. Like this $40,000 camera is just covered in beer, and everyone's freaking out, and as they should be, because
they're trying to save the camera, they're trying to clean up the bar,
trying to save it. Yeah, so he's like, it took him a while to clean up, all that mess that they made, and so that was, pretty exciting for that group, to get to see something like that happen. Probably not as exciting for, everybody working on the film, and
the
especially the camera crew, and oh, geez.
Oh, boy. So
imagine that.
Wow. So I guess they're still in there setting up before we were to go in for our, the final thing we're supposed to shoot before the quote unquote final scene. And so we're still talking to the guy, and I just he overwhelmingly looked like a biker. So it's like, are you by chance an actual biker? Because you look so much like a biker. It's so convincing.
Yeah, and this guy, he's like, I don't really know how to answer that. Basically his backstory is he used to be a biker, but then he got into some kind of situations where he didn't feel comfortable being a biker anymore, and he ended up leaving the biker
he told this
community.
Yeah, this one crazy story where these two bikers were fighting over a loaded shotgun, and
I know, scary.
He was he was the only one smart enough to get behind the engine in the truck, because if they shot at the engine, it's not going to go through the way that it would, just a window or something. So he's after that, he saw how some of these guys just were not super careful, and it was just not safe. So he got out of being a biker.
He's like, I'm not going to risk my life for idiots like this. Basically. So he said he still rides every once in a while, but he's not hardcore into biker. So we're like, well, he then volunteered that, this was the first movie he's done since, the whole COVID outbreak. So we asked him, well, why did you decide to do this movie, out of everything? He said, oh, I think this is a movie my daughter's going to go see. I like to be in movies that my daughter is going to go see.
Yeah,
I thought that was really sweet. Yeah.
I feel like he said she was in her early to late 20s. And I think he said she was in the Air Force too. And so he's like, yeah, a Weird Al movie. She's going to go see that. So it'd be fun to see her dad in there.
Cool. And then, so the way he was talking, he sort of was saying that, he does sort of this extra work as sort of part-time. So we sort of asked him, well, what is your main source of income then, if you're just kind of doing this part-time? And that's when he volunteered this great thing. He says, oh, I play Santa Claus. Yeah. And as soon as he said that, we're like, that's perfect.
Yeah.
And here's this guy. He's got this Santa belly. He's got this long beard, this long hair. He looks like Santa Claus. It was incredible.
Yeah, so
he was telling us these stories about, how, he always gets he always goes on auditions for Santa Claus, and he was telling us, if you get a really good, role as Santa Claus, in a national commercial or something, it could pay, $40,000. And we're like, whoa, I'm thinking to myself, maybe I should think of a career change here, grow my beard out a little bit, gain some weight, and, go into business as Santa Claus.
Yeah,
he was such a nice guy to talk to. Yeah, he was so friendly. And like everybody we talked to, he was just such a great guy to talk to. And I was glad I got to hear a little bit about his life story.
So it was starting to become time where we're going to go back in, and we're kind of everyone's kind of getting antsy. And out on the street next to our holding area, we heard some kind of scuffle going on, and our buddy Thomas and the other stunt person, they were fighting, movie fighting, not really
practice
fighting.
Yeah,
they were practice, oh, I'll do a punch here, and then you duck, and the stunt coordinators, they're kind of telling them what they should be doing. for the
Right.
brawl. So that was really cool to watch two like really incredible stuntmen doing this fight. It looked so real.
Yeah, we got to watch them rehearse it. That was really cool. They got to, we got to watch that for a little while.
And so that's when, after that, they brought in the Group B. And if you remember, Group B was when we were at the front of the audience. But then if you also
Right.
remember, they just made us Group C. So we're Group
Right.
B and Group C. And we're purple. Like, we don't know what's
We're
going
purple.
on. But so we go in, and this time, instead of the camera being behind the audience, the camera's in the audience. So
Yeah, it's on this giant crane, like right in the middle of where everyone would be standing. And, they're like, don't touch the camera, don't touch the crane,
yeah, they're like, you're going to get crushed if you get in the way of the machinery here. So just be really careful.
Right. Yeah, so basically the way they describe the scene to us is that, they're going to shoot the same scene that we just shot, except for that, the camera is obviously going to be taking up a large chunk of the audience. It's going to be swinging back and forth. So, you do not want to get hit with it.
Essentially, the camera was going to be a member of the audience. So it was going to be going side to side. So some of it would be like behind our heads. Some of it would be where we're standing. And it kind of just like this really cool shot for I Love Rocky Road.
So of course, we're directed that we can't look at this camera. We should be focusing at the band that's up on stage. Daniel and his band or Weird Al and his band up on stage, and we should be focusing on that. So since we can't be looking at the camera, they had these people strategically placed around in the audience that were members of the crew who were ducking behind people, and they would tap us on either our left side or our right side, and that was our cue to tell us to either move to the left or move to the right so we would not get hit by this camera.
Yeah, and so I am, like I said, I'm right in the middle. I'm just to the right side of the mic stand. So that was where the split was between me and the guy to my left who was wearing the red and black checkered flannel. So the camera would be right in between us, and I would feel like a tap on my my back, and then I would have to like move over and like push Dave, and Dave would have to push all the people behind him. We would have to move over as the camera like slowly went over. But then as the camera went back, we had to then fill in so it would get the back of our heads. Like it was this really interesting like choreographed, not a dance, but it kind of felt like a dance because it was like we'd just be standing there rocking out, but then as we're rocking out, we had to like move over and move forward, and it was really cool. And definitely after a couple times, it became a lot easier. They didn't really have to tap us as much because we knew the choreography of it.
Right. And meanwhile, we're reacting to the band being up on the stage the same directions we got before. At the beginning, we're sort of, not into it. Then we start getting into it. So at the end, not only we're being told to be, tapped on the back, be moved to the left or the right. We're also, fist pumping and everything. So it's a lot of coordination going on at this point.
And I'm holding the beer. There's so much to go. No, it was cool. It was a lot of fun, and they would give you like a little tap, but if the camera was getting really close, they would like really start tapping and hitting you hard. But no accidents. I didn't get hit.
No.
I don't think you got hit, Dave. Nobody tripped, or it worked out well.
Yep. I guess the other thing with that scene, though, is, a minor inconvenience was where I was standing. There was nobody off to my side. There was somebody behind me, and of course, Ethan was off to my left. But on my right, there was a pole, like where a pole that would be, holding a
support beam.
A support beam, for the bar, and then there was the steps going up on the stage. So I did not have a lot of room to maneuver as I had to go to the right. I had to be like aware of my feet as well because I didn't want to trip over the stairs or run into the pole.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool. It was like probably the most advanced thing we had to do, and it was
Absolutely.
fun. So once they finished that scene, that was it for us. But if you remember, they told us, Group C would then have to stick around and record, that fight scene out front.
Right. So we go outside and, we're waiting for them to call Group C. And all of a sudden somebody came out. I think it might have been JoJo, said, "All right, you guys are done."
And we're so
like,
confused because we're like, wait, you just told us before this that we were specifically by name supposed to be doing this other thing.
There's a bit of confusion, but I guess eventually we figured out as we went. I figured it out when we went to the front of the building and we got to see them actually shooting the scene, that Thomas and his stunt buddy double had just rehearsed.
Yeah.
So
essentially that was the establishing shot of like, before they show anything with the Cobra Pit, it's like you see the sign, it says Cobra Pit, you see the motorcycles out front, and you just see like, how rough of a bar it is, like people cheering on a fist fight. So it was a pretty brief scene, and I don't know that we missed that much, but I still would have loved to have been in it.
I would have loved to be in it, but I guess it was more important for us to be inside, since we were the featured extras up at the front of the stage. And, what's else is interesting is that, those ice cream carts that I saw, I don't know where they went. We never got to see them again. So I don't know.
And I never saw them.
I don't know what happened to those ice cream carts. They were there. Trust me. I just don't know if they may be in the movie. I don't know.
Maybe it wasn't even a movie thing. Maybe there was just like an actual ice cream truck.
Those little ice cream carts, like those little push carts that, you see, in the park, if someone's selling ice cream out of it. Huh. That's all it was. There's two of them. And they were taking them off of a truck when I was, heading out over to Crafty or the bathroom, wherever I was going at that point.
Oh, that's
and
crazy.
I never saw them again.
Well, so at this point, we're like, all right, well, I guess we're done. So we had to return. I had to return the necklace that I gave the guy. I had to give, of course, give back the cup of beer one last time.
Had to give back my rings and all that stuff, and we were kind of like trying to stay back so we could sort of watch as much of this, fight scene as we can. We could kind of still soak in as much as we can.
And we wanted to grab a picture with Eric because earlier at lunch, we're like, oh, it'd be great to get a picture with you. So the plan was like after the shoot, we'd grab a picture with him to hold on to for 10 months or whatever. Of course, we can't post it, but we just thought it'd be really cool to finally get a picture with Eric since we've, he's the director and he's done all this great stuff. And we know at some point we're going to be interviewing him. So it'd be great to have, a picture for Frank to post on the social media.
Right. And also the fact that, we think we would be fine if Eric is the one who says it's okay to take a picture with him, because we're under this thing where we're not really allowed to take out our cell phones or anything like that. And we don't know how, we don't want to risk anything or get in trouble for that. So, but if it's coming from the director, that's, pretty much a good sign that we're okay,
Well, so at that point, they're kind of ushering us, and there's vans, and we're sort of like trying to take our time because we want to see the establishing shot get finished filmed, and we're hoping that we get to see Eric. They start ushering people onto these people movers, and so we're kind of staying in the back.
Not anxious to get on, immediately. We're still trying to soak in as much as we can, still trying to hold back for that last hope that we get to see Eric. And it wasn't actually Eric who we got to see at that point. We got a really special surprise because Weird Al himself came over and tried to get on one of the people movers.
Yeah, so as he's walking over, we're like, hey, Al. And he's, oh, hey, guys. And so Al walks over and, we make a little small talk with him. We're thanking him again for having us. He thanks us for being there. And it's just so embarrassing. So Al goes, Ethan, I was watching you guys on the monitor, and I thought out of all the people here, you should know the lyrics to I Love Rocky Road. So this is the story. This is what happened. So I remember, when they read this part of the script, they said that the audience was supposed to be, singing along and all that stuff, but I didn't recall or I didn't hear anyone give the direction that when we're actually filming to be singing along. So I sort of half sang along to kind of cover both bases just in case. But believe you me, I know all the lyrics to I Love Rocky Road. That was actually the first song I ever memorized all the lyrics to as a kid. So of all the songs, I know the lyrics. I hear those ice cream bells and start to drool. Keep a couple quarts in my locker at school. Okay, I can do the whole thing.
Yeah, Ethan, the way Ethan reacted, he was like, well, I kind of didn't want to ruin anything by singing along. And Al was like, well, that was the joke. You're supposed to sing along. Right. Meanwhile, I don't know where the miscommunication happened there on Ethan's side, but I clearly remember at the script read early in the morning, they told us we'd be singing along. And then I clearly remember Eric, when he first was giving us directions, he's like, yeah, after the fist pumps, at that point, you guys are singing along. So, I was singing along the whole time. So I don't know what happened. I don't know how it's going to play out in the movie once we see it. But yeah, it was, I guess we should be singing along at that point, according to everything that I heard and according to what Al said at that point.
Well, I wish they would have said something, Al. Al, if you're listening, I wish you would have said, have the extra up front wearing the I Love Lucy pin to please mouth along the lyrics, and I absolutely would have. But maybe it's funny that one of the biggest Weird Al fans doesn't know the lyrics. If that is my destiny, that's my destiny. Whatever.
Ethan, there's a lot going on. It's understandable that
Yeah, get confused. Oh,
you may have missed that.
All right, whatever. All right, so Al takes off, and it was really good to see him. And there was a group of a couple other extras who were there, and
let me say something about Weird Al, which was I found interesting, and you noted this too. At the time, Weird Al, he's leaving, he's carrying a whole bunch of stuff with him. One of the things that he's carrying along with him is this like picture disc of Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
Which I thought was like, we didn't ask Al about it, but the assumption is that, well, Michael McKean, he's a big star of Spinal Tap. Maybe Al was bringing that along to, get an autograph from Michael McKean or something. Or maybe Michael McKean brought it along and gave it to him as a thank you or something. So I'd love to hear the story behind why Weird Al was holding a Spinal Tap.
It looks like a 45 picture disc or something.
Picture disc of some sort, yeah.
Yeah, so it was cool. And I wish we had more time with Al to grab a picture with him and to ask him about that. But it was still really cool to get to see Al and have him complain about my extraness.
Another funny thing that happened with Al is, Al's comes up and, rather than making... At this point, they're loading up the people movers, and they had just filled up a people mover. And, Al comes running over, and rather than having Al wait for the next people mover, which is probably the one we would have been on, is that they asked one of the extras, somebody they just loaded on, they said, "Okay, can you please get off so that we can shuttle Al back to base camp?" So this poor extra lost their seat to Weird Al.
Yes. And there was one point where they did have, this is maybe, I don't know if it was before or after Al, but they had just one seat left. And they were trying to get us to go on, and we didn't want to go anywhere. And we also didn't want to split up because Dave and Ethan are,
right.
We're a duo.
We have to be together, sure.
Plus, we're riding together and everything. So they ended up getting someone else, and we got out of it. But we were definitely, our time was running very low of getting to stick around. Like, there was only like a couple people left. And I think they started commenting to us like, "Wait, do you guys actually know Al?"
Right. Yeah, I think there was like three other guys that were hanging out with us at that point, and they were like, we started talking a little bit about Weird Al, and one of the extras, his name is Ari. He actually mentioned that he had worked with Weird Al at one point on Gallivant.
Yeah, so
that was pretty cool.
That was really cool. He's like, yeah, I didn't want to say anything to Al. I figured he wouldn't remember me, but he's like, yeah, I worked on the pilot of Gallivant with Al, and he was telling us about it. It seemed really cool, and he had nothing but awesome stuff to say about Al, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're getting down to it. We hear them kind of, on the radio, okay, another people mover's on the way, and we're like, we really would love to get to see Eric. And fortunately, we see Eric walking down the street towards us. Yes.
So we got to see Eric. We thanked him and we were just gushing and thanking him. And we're like, we'd love to get a picture. He's like, of course. So we go to pose with him, and the other like couple bikers who were there all jump into the shot with us. And so Eric was like, he's like, hey guys, I don't want to seem like a what did he say? He's like,
Well, Eric took the picture. So Eric took the picture with, all the bikers, including us, with him. And then he's like, hey guys, do you mind? I just would like to get a picture with these two guys,
yeah.
as well. But the funny thing is that I think that somebody took the picture with your camera, but I don't think we ever got like contact information for these other bikers.
No.
So we don't even know how to send them
It's
the
all
picture
just
that
on my
they're in
camera,
with Eric.
yeah, and we can't really post it until the film comes out. So yeah, I've got a picture of us with the bikers and Eric, and then I have the picture of just you and I, and of course we put Eric in the middle, and we did our podcast hand signals.
Oh, of course we had to. Yeah.
So it was really cool getting to see Eric. Eric actually had a Spinal Tap record as well.
Ah, okay.
So
cool.
I think it looked like it was a different one, and again, we didn't really get to talk about it too much, but it was still really cool to get to see Eric, and I think the biker guys at that point were like, "Wait, how do you know the director too?" So we started to explain the podcast, and we handed out some cards. So hopefully those guys are listening, and hopefully we'll get to talk to some of them, and hopefully we can get them the picture with Eric at some point.
All right. So at this point, a people mover did roll up. We did finally get onto the people mover. We headed back to base camp, and, people are going back to base camp. We still know we have a little bit of activity that has to go on at base camp. I'm still wearing that black T-shirt that I got from Costume, and they're holding on to my paperwork. So if I don't turn in this black T-shirt, not only are they going to hunt me down and try to find me, but I'm not going to get paid. So we get back. I know you had to return your vest that you borrowed. I had to return the black shirt. The funny thing is, they're like, okay, they asked for the black shirt back. And meanwhile, remember earlier in the day, I had put all my other clothing that I wasn't wearing in my car, in the back, in the trunk of the car, because I didn't want to carry that around all day. I'm like, I can give you this shirt, but then I have nothing to wear.
Right.
And they're I'm like, I said, I promise I'll be back, but can I run to my car and get a change of clothes? And they were like, oh, sure. Yeah, no problem. Don't worry about it.
Well, also, we're also kind of thinking, like, do they really want this, like, ratty, crappy shirt back? Like, just let Dave wear it home. And that's when they're like, well, actually, we would, but these are all rentals, and there's special barcodes sewn into them. And if we don't return it to the company, they're going to charge us like 5 times the cost of it or something. Because I had like my extra black shirts. I'm like, we'll just give you one of mine. Just to make this easier. And they're like, no, we can't do that.
Right. Yeah, that was interesting, is that, everything. I mean, I didn't mention this earlier, but even the rings that I was wearing, when I took them off, inside there was like a little sticker that had like a number on it.
Oh,
so even the rings were inventoried. It did, a little sticker on the inside of the ring. So the shirt was definitely, when I took it off, I was like, I got to find this barcode. There was a barcode on it. I hadn't seen it before.
So yeah, we got everything returned. We finished filling out the paperwork. They gave us the receipt, which is like the pink colored page. They ripped it off, and we were done.
Yeah, we were heading back to the car, and wrapping up, and really excited about everything. And I don't know if it was you or me, but one of us caught out of the corner of our eye, like, wait a minute, is that the actor who plays Jim? And we're like, oh, yeah, it is. So we ran over, not being creepy or anything, but we ran over and we were told, hey, are you Jim?
Yeah.
And then he was
wearing a mask, but we could tell based on the hair. And I was like, hey, and I kind of, we're just kind of explained, like, hey, we're 2 of Al's biggest fans. We actually know the real Jim. We have a podcast. Jim wrote and recorded our theme song.
Right.
And so we asked him, like, did you get to meet Jim? And he said he hadn't yet, but he was really looking forward to meeting him.
That's interesting. Yeah. I was a little surprised. I guess he didn't bother, connecting, or maybe he did try, connecting with Jim to get a little pointers on, hey, is there a certain way you hold the guitar or anything? Maybe it's not as important.
Also, to be fair, Jim has, earlier part of this year has been on tour with the International Guitar tour, so there may not have been an opportunity to get together.
Yeah.
But it was really cool to meet him, and we got a picture with him, and we did actually, while we're waiting for the costumes to go, we did see Al hop in his car and leave. And so I was like, I really want to put stickers for Al to see. And we weren't sure. I mean, it wasn't, the parking lot was not the same one that Al had posted on his Instagram even. So I wasn't really sure, but, and it didn't seem like there was like numbered or assigned spots. So we just went over to about where Al had parked, and there was like a street light, or a lamppost or whatever. And so I put a "We Hate Frank" sticker, and then one of the other stickers of Dave and I just on the lamppost. So who knows if they're even using that base camp again? Who knows if Al ever saw it? But I think outside of Al or Eric, I don't think anyone would know what the heck that means. So
it's a nice Easter egg, at some point, the same way that, people go out and they try to find all the filming locations for the movie UHF. I know I've done that. I've gone to visited a lot of places where they shot, pivotal scenes and important scenes in UHF. I feel like that, because this is the LA area, that we may have some people trying to find where they shot, certain things. So, maybe at some point somebody will find the base camp and they will find our sticker and let us know if it's still there.
Or maybe like immediately the next day someone found him and ripped him off. Who knows? So, Dave, what is the one thing we always ask anyone who comes on the podcast who worked on like a music video or UHF or any kind of film thing with Al?
We always, because we are collectors ourselves, we always ask them if they had the opportunity to take any souvenirs home from that day or any souvenirs off of the set.
All right,
so Ethan, I got to ask you, right, now that we are, featured extras in Weird, the Al Yankovic Story, Ethan Ullman, did you have the opportunity to take any souvenirs home from that day?
Well, there was one thing that I took home, and this was when I went to put my beer back on that number 27 spot. I saw this little cup full of pieces of bread, and I assumed that they were throwing pieces of bread, throwing popcorn. I took one of the little pieces of bread.
I no doubt that, the bread was somewhere in the movie. I'm sure we'll see it when we watch back the movie. But while we were in the scene where they were throwing popcorn at us, I did not see any bread being thrown at all. So I don't know.
Well, I didn't want to take something that was important, I figured they're going to throw the bread out,
All right. Well, let me tell you. So yeah, that's true. I mean, the bread isn't going to survive. They probably don't have little barcodes on the pieces of bread.
So I took the bread. Dave, was there anything that you kept as a souvenir?
There was actually, during the very first scene that, they were throwing popcorn and it was going over our head. There were a couple pieces of popcorn that landed up on stage. As we were leaving, I grabbed 2 pieces of popcorn. Ethan, I was thinking of you at the time. I just would grab one, and I said, I bet Ethan will want a piece of popcorn too. So I grabbed 2 pieces of popcorn, and I have 1 piece of popcorn with me, and then I have another piece of popcorn which I gave to you and you kept with your bread.
Yep. And I will point out the bread was a sizable piece of bread. I mean, it's maybe the size of a crouton. And I offered to split that bread with you, Dave, and you were not interested in the bread. You were happy with your corn.
I was very happy with my popcorn because I know for a fact, because my piece of popcorn was on the stage, that it is a screen used piece of popcorn. It was actually shows up somewhere in the movie. I bet if I took it out and went frame by frame and took my piece of popcorn and held it up next to the TV, I could find my exact piece of popcorn somewhere in this movie. So that was my reasoning behind taking the popcorn. I also did not want you, the bread was cut into squares or rectangles, and I did not want you to ruin the integrity of your piece of bread by destroying it, by cutting it in half or anything like that.
Well, thank you.
So I'm happy with you having the piece of bread and me having the piece of popcorn. Now, as an aside story here, I got to tell you something. So I mentioned, of course, that I borrowed these leather vests, from my sister, who borrowed it from one of her biker friends. Well, the other day I went to go return the vest back to my sister so she could give it to her friend, and thank him for letting me use it in the movie. And I said, I better just, make sure I didn't leave anything in the pockets. I reach in the pocket and there's 5 or 6 pieces of popcorn in my pocket. I had no idea it was there. So I have I don't know, 5 or 6 pieces of popcorn from the set, and I assume that those were thrown at me. They bounced off me and landed in the pocket.
Now, I think I mentioned this in a previous episode, but as we're leaving, I found this piece of paper on the ground, and it was really kind of gross. There's like tire marks. I'm looking at it right now. It was a menu from lunch that day, and it does say weird on the top. It says menu 2/12/22, so I think the date's wrong. It says marker circle, so maybe this was something maybe given to people maybe who were going to be in their trailer and not going to the lunch area, but it was clearly going to be garbage because it was on the ground. It's like, it's really dirty. I don't know why I'm touching it right now. I should be wearing gloves or something. But yes, I do have the catering menu, a very gross catering menu. So that is another souvenir from the set.
Yeah, and the other souvenirs that, I mean, I guess this may go without saying, but, you know, while we did borrow some costuming from, you know, and some jewelry from the actual set themselves, which we had to return, there was a lot of stuff that we wore, you know, while we were filming that was our own.
That's true.
Like, yeah, so I mean, you know, I know that the belt I was wearing, the pants I was wearing, the my boots I was wearing, as well as the little chain that I had hanging off of my my belt. All that stuff is now technically screen-worn movie memorabilia from a Weird Al movie, so I know I have to hold on to that.
Yes, I so the black t-shirt I was wearing was just like a, you know, a multi-pack t-shirt, just like a, you know, a very cheap shirt, but I have purposely put it separate so I can preserve, because I probably have 100 of these, you know, identical shirts, you know, so I have that separate. I was wearing my actual glasses that I wear, and I know I've revealed this on the podcast before, but on the inner arm, I actually have it etched to say Weird Al. So I was wearing my Weird Al glasses in the Weird Al movie.
Very cool.
My jeans, my belt, my boots, of course, they all are also screen worn, and not to mention the I Love Lucy pin, the wonderful gift from Kenneth.
Very cool pin. Yeah,
is very cool. That, you know, it wasn't the one Al wore in I Love Rocky Road, but it is the one I wore in I Love Rocky Road. So that is really cool to have that, you know, as part of my collection now.
Now, another interesting thing that, you know, I feel like we should talk about this, because while we've mentioned this before, but while we were, you know, they were sending us all the information before we got on the shoot, every single email that they sent us was asking us a very specific question. They were saying, please let us know if you are allergic to peanuts, because there will be peanuts on the floor. Now, interestingly enough, you've listened to these past couple episodes that we've done. You've not heard us once talk about peanuts.
And that is because I can tell you, Dave, I never saw a single peanut the entire time I was there.
I did not either. I kept waiting for the peanuts. I'm like, at some point, there's going to be peanuts. Like when they were throwing popcorn, I'm like, oh, I bet they're going to throw peanuts now. Nope, no peanuts. The number
of times they mentioned the peanuts, I expected that we would be swimming in peanuts.
Exactly. Not once did I see a peanut on set. So I don't know if maybe somebody was allergic to peanuts and they just decided to scrap the whole thing, or they were being extra cautious. Who knows? But not once did I see a peanut in this movie. So who knows? The final film, maybe there's an entire scene full of peanuts. Maybe there's just peanuts.
Yeah, maybe they digitally CGI'd some peanuts in there for authenticity.
Not one peanut on the bar, not one peanut on the floor, not one peanut flying through the air, not even peanuts at Crafty or peanuts during, you know, catering or anything like that. I did not see one peanut all day.
And so, Dave, that was our day. I mean, we were exhausted because we were there all day. I don't know when we officially left. Was it like 8:00 at night almost?
Yeah, it was 8:00 at night. I mean, for sure. It was around 8:00 at night, because I remember, you know, I think it was JoJo who was filling out the final, you know, time stamps for us, you know, and basically she's like, yep, you guys were in at 9 and out at 8. And I know that that means a lot more for, the extras, the SAG and, the other union extras that were there, because, at one point during the day, I remember, somebody looked at their watch and was like, hey, it's 6:01. That means we're officially on overtime right now. So it was very important, for them to kind of clock in and clock out. So I remember specifically her filling out, the times on our timesheet, and also her asking us, if we had an hour lunch or a half-hour lunch as well. So
which we didn't really know, but we remember she told us it was half hours.
It was half hour, right? And it was I don't even know if it was a half hour. It might have been
I don't
less,
think
but
it was a full half hour, no. But
but
it was great.
Yeah,
like I said, there wasn't really much for me to eat at lunch, and I didn't have a super appetite, but we on our way back to the Airbnb, we stopped at this restaurant called Fat Burger, which is like a chain on the West Coast, and I got a nice veggie burger, and it was great. It was a great end to the day.
Yeah, I remember I just got like a cheeseburger or something there, but I remember you were trying to egg me on to do some sort of like challenge at Fat Burger. They had up on the wall, like if you ever saw the show Man versus Food, you see Adam Richman, kind of go in there, and or whoever the new guy is right now, they go in there and they try to, defeat this challenge. Well, there was a challenge up. If you ate this XL burger or triple XL burger.
Something like that.
Yeah. And like you got, your name up on the wall, your picture up on the wall. And I wasn't hungry enough to even attempt to do something like that. But I know Ethan was trying to get me to do it.
Well, they gave you a full hour to do it. And there was 5-year-old kids up on the wall. So it's like, I think, Dave, I think you could have done it if you really wanted to. Maybe next time we go back to Los Angeles, we can have you do the Fat Burger challenge.
Okay.
Get your picture on the wall. But yeah, I mean, we went back, and then we're leaving to go home the next day. So it was just like it ended so quickly, and it was just a wonderful day, really through and through.
Yeah, I mean, incredible day. I mean, I don't even know where to, to begin to thank, people like, Weird Al, thank people like Eric, thank people like Daniel and Jonah and everyone else, all the people working on this film, every single person, from, catering through, the director, was incredibly nice, made me really feel important. I mean, I've said it before, here I am, an easily replaceable extra in some movie, and everybody goes out of the way, to make me feel like a true star.
It was just such a great experience. And yeah, it really, like I said, I think in another episode, like going back to my normal life felt so weird. It's just like, all right, well, I was in Weird Al's movie. I just had the greatest day of my life, and now I'm, waiting in the checkout line. It's like, it's so weird. People talk about how magical like a movie set is, and especially being on the Weird Al movie set, it was just magical for us.
It was an incredible experience. Definitely a highlight, top of the list of things I've done, as far as anything, I'm extremely grateful that I got to share this experience with you, Ethan, and extremely thankful to everyone who made it happen in any kind of capacity.
And, when we started the podcast about 3 years ago, I don't think either of us would have ever, A, thought there was going to be another Weird Al movie this soon, and B, that we would get to be in it. So, the fact that Eric and Jonah and Al, or however that happened, where they were like, let's bring these goofballs in the movie, it's incredible. And yeah, I don't think there's anyone else who I would have rather shared that day with than you, Dave, because it was incredible. And we were able to appreciate it on the same level. I don't think anyone else, outside of a handful of others, could have stood there and appreciated it as much as I did. So it was just incredible.
I think there's really just one word to kind of sum up how this entire experience was. And I think you know what that is, Ethan.
Pretty stinking majestic. Yes, it was pretty stinking majestic through and through. And I just can't wait to see the movie. I can't wait to see how it turns out. I can't wait to see if you actually can see our faces, like Eric said. I can't wait to see if we can see the pin. I can't wait to see if, the wrench falling in my beer. And I can't wait for the movie, for scene 27, for everything about it.
Yeah, it's, for the very little bit that we got to see and experience, it sounds like it's going to be a great movie. I'm really looking forward to watching how this whole thing plays out. Well, that's it for our part of the story in our Weird the Al Yankovic story series. Stay tuned for more chapters on future episodes, where we talk to another background actor who has multiple cameos in the film.
As you're listening to this series, if you have any questions for us, please leave us a message on the 347 Spatula Hotline, the official hotline of Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, and we'll do our best to answer them on a future episode.
Oh, wow. I wonder if that's a question about our time on the set of Weird the Al Yankovic Story right now.
All right, intern Frank, let's hear it.
Hey guys, it's your boy Sebastian Shepard, David Grant, Sheepdog, blah blah blah. You said to call if you have any questions about your series that you're doing now about the filming Weird Al Yankovic Story, and I'm gonna step up for the team, and I'm gonna ask the question that most of your audience is probably too afraid to ask, but it's just going around through all of our brains right now, and so here I'm gonna take one for the team and ask, how does Daniel Radcliffe smell? Okay, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Oh, come on. That's way too easy. He smells like Nirvana. Next.
Well, thanks for the call, David Grant, a.k.a. Frank, you know what to do. Hopefully you do. After all this time, you really should know it's time to play the next message.
All right, don't give him that much credit, Ethan. Frank, play the next message.
Hey, Dave. Hey, Ethan. Kenneth. I've been working on a new song here. Thought I'd sing it for you. It's in the works, so it's not totally done yet. So I hope you like it. There's a podcast now. Da-da-da-da-da-da. It's all about Weird Al. Da-da-da-da-da. Dave has style. Da-da-da-da-da. Ethan drives me wild. You know what I mean. Frank makes a mess. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Patreon is the best. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Look at me. Look at me. Woo! Yeah! Patreon!
Kenneth Gwinnett, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard in my life.
Thank you so much for that call, Kenneth. I think we've got some competition if we ever decide to replace our official podcast theme song written by the Grammy Award-winning Jim Chemo West. I think we've got a potential winner.
Da-da-da-da-da-da. This episode is brought to you in part by Discover Darwin, promoting tourism in Darwin, Minnesota. Not only is historic Darwin, Minnesota beautiful, it's also making wine prettier, one bottle at a time.
Have you ever wanted to paint a wine bottle?
Not really. Never crossed my mind, actually.
Well, on Thursday, May 18th, Jomas Hill Winery in Darwin, Minnesota will be hosting a wine bottle painting event.
That sounds terrible.
Well, the cost of the evening is $45 each, and it includes 2 bottles and materials to paint Starry Night and brushed metal on wine bottles.
Well, $45 each, but at least you get to drink 2 whole bottles of wine.
Well, I assume the bottles are empty, but the price of $45 also includes your first beverage at the bar. That's up to a $6 value.
$6 for a Coke Zero? Whatever.
Well, wine painting starts at 6 p.m. and spots are limited, so register soon.
Oh, I sure will be registering, Dave.
Well, attendees are encouraged to arrive early to try one of their pizzas, including the highly recommended Tipsy Fungi.
Oh.
And also, Ethan, this is very important because it is in all caps. No free class cards. We're not sure what that means, but we do know that there will be no refunds or changing of dates due to the materials being ordered.
So visit Darwin, Minnesota on your next wine bottle painting expedition. Discover Darwin more than just the twine ball. And after you visit Darwin, Minnesota, be sure to attempt to visit discoverdarwin.biz.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast is brought to you absolutely free thanks to our incredible sponsors, Burrito, Jackson Scoggins, and Discover Darwin. Our podcast is also supported by everyone else in our Patreon family, with special thanks to our amazing close personal friend level Patreon supporters, including Gus and Alicia, Allison, Adriana, Ajax, Jake, Zeb, Zach, Dana B., Blair, Kev, Javier, Ron, Scott, UH Jeff, Nancy, Mike, Matthew, Kenneth, and also thanks to Jeremy and everyone else in our pretty stinking majestic Patreon family.
If you enjoy our fantastically freaky and family-friendly Weird Al podcast, please consider supporting us at patreon.com/2000inch, just like that fine song that Kenneth Gwinnett wrote says. There are awesome benefits like getting your name on the podcast, your own private RSS feed, which gives you early access to each and every bonus episode, and the self-satisfaction of doing something important with your otherwise pitiful, meaningless existence! And now would be a good time to join if you haven't already, because you will be the very first to hear each and every one of our remaining brand new, ridiculously self-indulgent bonus episodes the instant they drop.
And do not forget to check out our official merchandise over at shop.2000inch.com. All proceeds from purchases go directly towards supporting our fine podcast. And while you are there, be sure to pick up your very own Dave and Ethan's premium tank top. Now that the weather is getting nice, bare your gorgeous arms and shoulders and show everyone who your favorite podcast hosts are at the same time. It is available in 7 different colors, so you can wear a different one for every day of the week.
We love hearing from our listeners and other Weird Al fans, so be sure to join our Facebook community at group.2000inch.com and visit our Discord server for even more riveting Weird Al and Red Rum to Goody related conversations. You can find both of them linked on our website, as well as information about past episodes and guests over at weirdalpodcast.com or 2000inch.com.
And while you are there, click on ridiculously self-indulgent bonus episodes and follow along with our adventures on tour, and click on Black and White and Weird All Over bonus episodes and follow along with our special series where author John Bermuda Schwartz walks us through his first book page by page and picture by picture.
Keep up on new episodes, podcast news, and events by following at 2000inch on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And be sure to subscribe everywhere you listen to podcasts so you don't miss a single episode. Not only does subscribing help the podcast, it helps you cheat at the brand new Weird Al pinball machine. Plus, we also love it when we receive voicemail via our official patent-pending 27-hour-a-day podcast hotline 347 Spatula, as seen in the Illustrated Al. That number is 347-772-8852. Give it a call and you might even hear your message in a future episode.
Well, thank you once again to us for having the foresight of recording those episodes way back in February 2022. And thank you once again to David Grant, Kenneth Gwinnett, Matt Horn, UH Jeff Nucera, Aaron Henry, and Scott Sorensen. Thank you to the Grammy Award-winning Jim Kimo West for our incredible podcast theme song. And thank you to Weird Al Yankovic, as this podcast probably would not exist without him. And a big thank you to all of you, our loyal listeners, subscribers, Patreon supporters and sponsors, and everyone else who makes our podcast possible.
Thank you for choosing Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast. And until next time, remember to go and chill.
All right, Ethan, how many times have you seen Weird the Al Yankovic Story in a theater setting?
I can think of at least 5 times, but I don't know. I'm having trouble keeping track.
That is so cool. And how many times have you watched Weird the Al Yankovic Story on the Roku channel?
Exactly 1,832 times.
And how many times have you watched it on DVD, Blu-ray, or 4K Ultra High Definition?
0 times so far, but I'm hoping to remedy that real soon.
Okay, but have you ever watched it on an airplane?
I didn't even think that was an option, so no.
Well, guess what? It is. United Airlines now offers Weird the Al Yankovic Story as part of their in-flight entertainment.
Well, I guess I'm going to start flying to all kinds of places that I never really wanted to go, 'cause I'll do anything just to spend a little time with the greatest biopic that I know.
Well, be sure to say hi to Amy.
That was Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, episode 192-inch.
16 feet down, 150 and a third to go.
And we also didn't want to split up because Dave and Ethan are,
Right.
we're a duo.
We have to be together, sure.